for the cast and crew, right? So we all get to go there and meet everyone that's in the show, because usually we wouldn't really run into the show, and I know sometimes that people like don't like to go into the room where they're showing the show, because they'll show the entire dub, or they'll show a few episodes of the dub, and people are like, oh no, like I can't. But I'm like, you're the main character. Why won't you go in there? And it's like, I can't stand it. I can't stand listening to my voice. I can't stand the way that I did my lines. Like, so a lot of people kind of like feel that same thing. So if you guys like ever feel that with what you're doing, then like it's totally natural. Like you'll have like two sides of yourself. Like one side that's kind of like proud of what you've done and thinks it's really good, and then you'll have the other like critical side where you just completely hate everything and you're just like cringe all day. So yeah. Basically, I'm gonna see if I can plug this in. So what I was worried about when I said that I was gonna plug this thing in is because I get random email notifications, like pop-ups on my desktop, and so I'm afraid that people like are gonna email me about something like super duper secret or super important, and then everybody's gonna see it, and then I'm gonna get in like a ton of trouble. So I might put this. I might put. Yeah, I'll print out like one of the NDAs they make us sign. I'll have everybody here sign it.
Yeah.
So I guess first things first. I'm gonna open it up to like questions. Is there like a specific question? And if nobody has any questions, then I'll just kind of like go into like what I think people would want to know. Oh yeah.
How do you get over the adjustment of how your voice sounds through recording software versus how your voice sounds through natural speaking?
So for the most part, I guess like your voice, it really depends on like how you record yourself. I think it's all about the microphone and stuff. So sure, if you record yourself on a laptop, right, and you listen to your voice and then you record yourself on probably like a better mic like this or so, like your voice is probably going to sound like more bassy, and it's going to have like a little bit more texture and stuff. Like there's going to be more to your voice, whereas if you record it on something like this, it's going to sound pretty tinny and stuff. So I think the most important part is just kind of like, I've kind of learned what my voice sounds like on just about everything now, because I've probably recorded myself on like, I don't know, 10 different microphones. I think the most important thing is to just kind of like, is to kind of like not be so critical of it. I know it's like harder to really like do, but than just talking about it. But I think you just kind of have to like sit back and look at it as if like you were another person and listening. So I'm like, pretend I'm like somebody else, and then I'm listening to this random person talking, but that random person talking is really me. So you just need to like not be crazy about it, because that's how like everybody is when they record themselves, and they know that's them talking. They're like, oh, I hate this about my voice, I hate this about my voice, and then I hate this about my voice. And so it's so funny, because like a lot of the times acting and just being an actor, you'll realize what they want from you is yourself. They want you to be you. Like they don't want you to be like trying to do like a Johnny Young Bosch impression. They don't want you to try to be Yuri Lowenthal. Like they just like want you to be you. And sure, like you might listen back to it and be like, I do a really good impression. But if they really wanted those guys, they could just pay them and do it. Like you guys will probably get paid the same if you're working on like a non-union anime or non-union video game. But for the most part, I think also what's kind of important is like you might think it's like a really good impression, but sometimes it sounds like kind of forced or something, because it's really not. You're trying to do something different from yourself, and it's so crazy because like after spending like thousands on acting classes and getting trained and stuff, like finally you kind of realize like that, oh wow, like I could have been more natural. I could have been just did myself for this character, and I probably would have gotten it over like trying to do something, that's not really me. But I guess it's more of like, the voice than the actual character, like, so if you're not like an evil person, which I hope all of you, wouldn't be, like, so maybe, maybe you'll be able to, kind of like just draw from something or something evil, or maybe you heard something in a video game, then sure you can kind of like play off that tone, but I'm just saying like, don't try to like copy voice or like, wake up one day and be like, I'm gonna be the next Vic Mignogna, and then just kind of like go off of there, because that probably won't work well. So just kind of be yourself, and I think like you'll probably do great. So anyways, like I guess, oh yeah, go ahead.
I didn't know if I forgot if this was a general Q&A or not, but
it's like general Q&A, but then I'm also gonna go over like some points and stuff too.
So Team 4-Star, as a promotion for their Cell Saga, they did like a Cell versus da-da-da, and they had Genos and Saitama versus Cell. Have you ever seen that? It's by Team 4-Star.
I swear, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah. And then it shows Cell at like the Cell games, right? Or they
Yes.
take that clip of him. Yeah. I think I saw that was a while back, right? It was like a few months ago.
I think so. I'm not 100% sure,
I just remember I saw it and I thought it was like amazing. I was laughing too. It was great. Yeah, no, I love the Team 4-Star guys. I used to like really like be into like the Bridge series and watch a ton of those on YouTube. I thought they were great. I knew like a ton of the community, and that's also kind of like where I started too. So it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of interesting, I guess, to see that, because I just came from online voice acting. So that's why I kind of thought it would be cool to make this panel, because a lot of the other voice actors, they might have come from online voice acting, but they might not really talk about it that much. But I mean, like, that's literally what I did. I went out, I bought a microphone, and I was doing fan dubs, I was doing the abridged things, I was doing original things for people that never came out because everybody's lazy. I mean, you know, but I mean, I'm just doing the voice. Like, you know, I'm not like making the actual things. I mean, you know, I don't really know what to expect, especially if they don't have a budget or anything. But, you know, back then, like, I was doing things for free, doing them for fun. I mean, it was just to get practice. You know, I never really thought that I'm gonna be able to do this as like a career or anything. You know, I was just kind of doing it for fun. And then I took some classes with Crispin Freeman, actually.
Really?
And so he was like my first teacher and mentor, and he kind of like helped me through like controlling my voice and stuff, and gave me a ton of great info. And actually, like, at his class, like, you actually get to practice dubbing, which I think would be cool if I ever did that. I don't even know if you guys know who Tony Oliver is.
Yes.
Yes. I don't even know if he does a panel or anything like that, but he totally should. Like, he gets. Oh, he does? Yeah, oh, well, I know he does it at AX, but I don't know if he's doing it here.
He's doing the Adventures in Voice Acting one here tomorrow.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's great. So then you guys might get a chance to like go up and practice dubbing, which is very, very helpful. So I guess something else I wanted to just touch on real quick is I know a lot of people ask about like, how do you match the flaps? You know, how do you do that? And how do you read the line? Because, you know, you are literally, like, you're doing it like that. You're doing it super quick in the booth, and how do you match the flaps? And you just read the line real quick, and then you kind of look up at the flaps. But sometimes what a lot of actors do is that once you know how to kind of time the line, you can just read the line with the Japanese preview clip, because it shows the preview of the Japanese voice actor the way they did it. So I'll usually take the line and, like, oh, I guess I have to go over there or something, and say that's the line. And so I'll read it, and then I'll see where it fits real quick, and then in a split second, I'll match it with the flap, kind of, if that makes sense. So it's like you do one practice one while they're rolling the Japanese clip, and then you hear the beep, 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 and then you do the real one. And that, all I can say is, like, you probably won't just, like, pick it up and be, like, amazing at it. Like, it really does take, experience and stuff. But I will say this, though. You don't have to do it right. Like, you don't always have to do it exactly to the flap, because that's why the engineers are there. So sometimes they'll be able to cut up your lines and speed them up a little bit and make them fit into that small flap, even if it's, like, super duper hard for you to say. I've had, like, a ton of stuff. Funny enough, if you guys have seen One Punch Man, like, they do that actually with the Seiyu too. They speed up their lines as well, so they're not actually, like, talking that fast, but they sped up, my lines as well, and they just kind of, like, fit it in there. But it was really hard, trying to see, like, where that would end, because they're speeding it up, so it's, like, really confusing. That was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life. But yeah.
Quick question: do you know if they're using Pro Tools whenever they're?
Yeah, they're using Pro Tools. That's what I used to. I mean, you can use whatever though. It doesn't really matter. But I was super. Oh, what?
A Yeti mic.
Oh yeah, you can use a Yeti mic. Yeah. It's so funny because I was gonna say that actually here. So let's see if this thing works. Where's the crap? It's on this side. Or the HDMI is on this side. Apple, you suck. Says the person who bought this. Is that projector even on? Is it even plugged in? Do I need to plug it in? Oh wait. Yep. Oh yeah.
What advice would you give to yourself right now if you could tell yourself right when you started? Like, what was probably the most important thing to help you progress?
I don't even know if you guys can see that. Maybe this room should be dark. Can I like just turn off the lights? Have you guys ever done that like in school? Like you like, you know, you like it when it's darker in the classroom
Yes.
when they turn off the lights and stuff and it's cooler and like, I don't know, I just
Yes,
That-
yes,
that's
yes.
what I like watching the movies in the class. I mean, obviously, like I'm a slacker. Right? It's like, yeah, I'm just like, oh, you guys are gonna put on a movie for Spanish class. They put on like Muzzy or whatever. If you guys even know what that is.
Yes.
That was like my saving grace, and like the teacher was always like, so class, today we're gonna, and everybody's like, what's it called? And he's like, we're gonna watch Muzzy, and everybody like, it's like the loudest cheering I've ever heard still to this day in my life. Like everybody's like, thank God. Oh, but anyway, sorry to get off topic. But you said I do that a lot. You said what advice would I give myself now?
Yeah.
I would probably say what I was talking about first is just kind of like, you know, like be yourself and be kind of natural. So sometimes like I guess if I want to do like a different voice, I like to submit 2 takes to whoever I'm doing. I'll be like, okay, so here's a quick one, you know, with my own voice and me doing the character and you know what I think kind of works for it, and then here's another one with like something that's completely different, you know, doesn't really sound like me or anything at all. So, you know, because sometimes I don't know, because I've played a lot of like various characters, even in like Walla, like I've played like the big muscly guys to like the very younger characters, like Takaki or Arthur or something like that. So it's weird, which I haven't really like said my characters or anything at all. So horrible at this. Hi. So I guess I'll like kind of go back and say, you know, the stuff I've done is Genos in One Punch Man, Slain in Alt No Zero, Takaki in Sword Art Online, Arthur in the 7 Deadly Sins. I did Gyro recently in One Piece, and and then a bunch of other stuff. I did like additional voices, you know, for Kill la Kill, Your Lie in April, Gargantia, and a bunch of other stuff. It's actually a lot of stuff I can't talk about right now. It kind of sucks. Yeah.
So, what's your favorite voice acting that you've done for?
Ooh. If you ask anyone else this, they're just gonna say, well, they're all my babies, so I can't pick one.
Yes.
Lies.
And lies. I think, you know, my favorite thing is probably Slain from Alt No Zero, and it always goes between like Slain and Genos because they're like 2 completely different things. But the thing is, like when I was working on Alt No Zero, I was like 16 or 17 years old, and I was so new to like voice acting and stuff, and I was still very young and and pretty shy too. And I had Lex Lang, who's an amazing person and director and actor, and he just kind of, he came in and he really just kind of showed me the ropes, and he really just helped me a ton with everything. I mean, working on that show is just kind of like, it's just something really cool to think back to, and like, wow, I can't believe I actually like got to do that, and with someone like Lex, who's like pretty much a legend in the VO world, I don't know, it's just like kind of like nostalgic in a way, even though it's only been like a few years, but I mean, I don't know, it's just happy memories, even though the show might not ended the best way. So, you haven't watched it.
Not yet.
Yeah. Oh, did my thing go on? Did my thing? So something real quick that if you guys can even see that, something real quick I wanted to touch on. Can you guys raise your hands if you have like microphones already? Oh wow. Okay. So a good amount of you guys. So these are the microphones that have been recommended to me, and I recommend them to a bunch of other people because I know people who make crazy good content using these microphones. And so basically, I guess I'll just go out and say that that USB mics are totally fine, pretty much like for all the other stuff. I mean, my equipment at home costs like upwards of like $2 or $3 grand, but that's because I record commercials constantly. I do a bunch of commercials with Pandora Radio. So if you guys have ever listened to Pandora and you don't have like the paid version, or you don't have ad block, which I don't know. I don't have ad block. Maybe. Yeah, so basically then that'll like probably block out the commercials. But I will say that don't use ad block, otherwise someone's gonna kill me. Don't use ad block because it's wrong. It's wrong. Don't use it. But yeah, so I do a bunch of that stuff. So of course, like they want the top end, equipment because their clients are like from Target and Sprint and all these crazy people. Yeah.
What mic preamp and interface do you use?
I use a what's it called? I use the Focusrite. It's not the Scarlett, but I mean it doesn't really matter though because the preamp's running through something else. So I use the interface as just an interface alone, which the interface basically, I guess I'll kind of cover this too, is that an audio interface for people who don't know is that's what inputs the XLR microphone, because XLR, you can't plug an XLR mic right into your computer. You need an interface to input it through USB or Thunderbolt or FireWire. Basically is, I'm sorry, what did you ask me? There's too much.
Preamp interface.
Mic preamp and interface. So I use a Neumann TLM 103. I use I'll just say the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2, it doesn't matter, it's just inputting the signal, and then the interface I use is the the preamp I use is the Focusrite ISA1. Yeah, so that's a really good combo. I went to Guitar Center and the guys are like, yeah, you should get this combo if you're looking to, spend some money on this stuff. And I was like, yeah, I need a really good setup because like I just got contacted by Pandora and they want me to do like a ton of stuff. And I know like, they want the best of the best audio equipment. But I'm saying like, you guys don't need to go out and spend like a ton of money, especially if you just want to like, put your feet in the water for, a little bit and try voiceover, just kind of listen to yourself and do things online. So do any of you guys know like what Casting Call Club is? Casting Call Club? Yeah. Casting Call Club's a great website to get started on. I do paid original projects, and then they do like fan stuff, like fan dubs, abridged. Any of that stuff I think is great to start out on. Which, what is wrong with this thing? I hate this thing. It's because it's a Mac and it takes. No, I mean, like I do all my recording on Mac, so it's like. But I'm a huge gamer on the PC and I built my own PC, so it's like it's weird, it's like different stuff. But yeah, I would say all these USB mics, so listed on the top row, are great microphones to start out on. The Blue Yeti, the Shure PG42 USB. Crispin Freeman actually recommended that one to me himself. The CAD U37 and the Apogee mic. And I know, funny enough, I remember Kyle Aber, I think, told me that he uses the Apogee mic too sometimes. So, those are great mics too. A lot of them are very, very portable. So if you're traveling or, I don't know, you might want to record. I had friends who recorded in their car because their acoustics were even better in their car. So that's the next thing I'll touch on, is that the microphone isn't extremely super duper like crazy important, because I've known people who have gone out and spent like $2 grand on a microphone, and then they take it home, record. Oh, I have high ceilings, so I hear echoes throughout my entire recording, and it doesn't sound like it was recorded on $2,000 equipment. It sounds like it was recorded on like a $40 microphone. So I will say this, is that if you're able to I've heard like egg cartons work really well to break up sound, if you guys have ever heard of that. You can also, what I recommend doing is, like, you might be able to find foam cheap online, or even like hang up, blankets, or just anything that works in your recording space. What I did, is I got like some soundproofing material randomly on eBay. It's probably bad because I don't really know if it even like soundproofs all that well, you know, so I could have just gotten completely scammed, someone selling it from China, but I thought that it worked, you know. I tested it out, I put it in my closet, and it sounded really good, and then I got some actual foam, and I put up foam panels in a closet, and I basically made it into a booth, you know, so I mean, I don't know, it worked out really well. It sounds great, it sounds super dead. What you want is, you know, the recording to sound just as dead as possible. Kind of almost sound like you're speaking into a pillow, you know, if you record and then like that. So, I don't know, it sounds good if there's less reverb, and then people can always add reverb and stuff, but it's kind of hard to take the reverb away. So yeah, so of course, you know, so you got the microphone, you got a recording space, right? So, what you're gonna want next is probably like to go out and just start, you know, recording yourself, recording stuff. I mean, that's the thing, like Yuri Lowenthal has said it a million times, and like I've read his book. I forget what it's called.
Adventures.
Voiceover voice actor. What it's like behind the mic. Yeah, that was a really great book. He kind of like, you know, explains everything. Like just start reading. You know, read the newspaper, record yourself. Read a magazine, record yourself. Just, you know, you just gotta like get used to hearing your own voice and just kind of, you know, get into it, I guess. Yeah.
Would singing count? If you can manipulate your voice in a way on audio tracks, on music, would that be something that somebody would be interested in looking at?
I think so. I think singing's great, not only for, you know, I mean, like there's a lot of shows that they'll put out and be like, we only want to cast someone who's able to sing. I did an audition, I remember, where I had to sing in Hebrew. I didn't speak Hebrew, so you guys, like, you'll have to think about that. Like, I didn't just like, you know, I had like 2 days to do it or whatever, but I didn't just like, you know, I didn't just like pull something out and like just guess. You know, I actually like did my research on all of the words, and I made sure that I got it down to like a T. Sadly, I didn't get it because like I thought that they would actually cast someone who is, well, Hebrew, you know, and like can speak it, like, you know what I mean? But I get the audition, and like and then I have an agent, which is something separate I'll kind of cover, but you know, and they expect me to, you know, put out the best thing or give them the best possible thing so that they can pitch me and be like, hey, we got this, you know, this guy who's able to do this too, and you know, I don't know, maybe they liked my singing voice or something, and they could use me for the singing part, you know, even if I don't get the actual, you know, voice character. But I totally think that's a, you know, that's a good way to just open up your range, I'd say. A lot of people who are singers are amazing voice actors. A lot of voice actors aren't amazing singers. So there's something there. There's something. Yeah.
I forget if this was answered, but you had said like to record yourself, like get a microphone and record yourself. Because I make my own YouTube channel, so I make all my videos, and when I'm editing, I have to listen back to my voice, and I've recorded other stuff too, and then I'm like, oh God, that sounds awful. How do you like I don't know if it's like, okay, you're hearing your own voice, so you're in that mindset because of it, but how do you like get out of that sort of, oh God, this sounds awful, when it could, you know, when people might say it sounds good, but besides that, I'm sorry, because people have said, no, Sarah, to me, like, no, this sounds good, and I'm like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
So how do you like get out of that mindset?
I guess, you know, getting out of the mindset is just kind of like continuously doing it, you know, and like really listening to yourself and just, you know, I mean, it's something that you just kind of have to get over, and some people don't really get over like that mindset ever, and they're like professional voice actors, but the least you can do is kind of like separate like the two. Like, you know, you can take one and be like, okay, like maybe I really could have done a line or done something better here, and then you got to take another part of yourself that's like, okay, like, you know, maybe I'm overly critical, and it's a balance, you know. Sometimes like you just have to like figure out how to look at the two. I don't really know exactly like how to explain it, but also like getting classes or taking classes from like other voice actors, like they'll be able to tell you. Like Crispin Freeman, great person to take classes from if you're able to get in. I know he does some online classes, but the thing is, you need other voice actors and stuff to honestly tell you sometimes. I mean, like, sure, like sometimes like what I thought is, when I was a lot younger, I thought I was like a really like great voice actor, right? And I was like, oh yeah, like I'm pretty good, and like, you know, and I think that I'm doing all these things right, yada yada yada. And then I go take a class, and I find out, you know, and it's hard to believe sometimes, but you just got to be able to take the criticism. And so when people like, that's another thing, is that when people like, you know, tell you something about your voice acting or whatever, like, you can't be like, oh, well, they don't know what they're talking about, you know. But in a sense, like, if they have something to say about it, that, you know, just take into account that you know, you just gotta, there's probably something there, especially if more than one person says. But if they're a professional voice actor, then definitely what they say is
Yes.
going on. Don't go pay money and take like Crispin's class and then be like, oh yeah, he's totally wrong. I'm amazing. Like, I'm hilarious. You know, like just take it into account. Like, it's not. Nobody's ever, you know, trying to be mean or anything. It's very constructive. You know, like, he wants you to get better, and all these people that teach classes want you to get better, and they want you to succeed in the VO world. I mean, you know, when I first started out, like, my thing was to like perfect my screams, because my screams were horrible. If you ever hear like things online, like you'll hear the famous whisper scream, you know? That was me. You know what I mean? And the thing is, like, I didn't know how to, like, you know, regulate the air pressure of the diaphragm. I knew nothing about that. And I had people like Crispin and Tony to like just kind of, it's so funny because I was taking a class from Tony like years ago, and he's just like, okay, lay down on the floor. I'm like, wait, what? Tony, like, what do you mean lay down on the floor? I'm just a young child. I was like 12 or 13, but I laid down on the floor, and he taught me the way the diaphragm works, you know, and was like, okay, now blow out some air, and, you know, make sure you're, you know, blowing it out of your diaphragm and not your chest. Don't breathe through your chest, breathe through your diaphragm. And so after that, like, I remember a few weeks later, I was screaming like freaking, I don't know, like pigs to the slaughter or something, whatever, you know, I mean, something horrible. But, you know, anyways, that was basically like a starting point. Like, the thing is, as you take classes and as you keep going, you'll have these moments where like things just completely change, and you could go from like being not great to being like, whoa, I could hear this in a video game, you know, I think this is pretty good. So yeah, but anyways, here's all the mics. If you guys are interested in mics, I think a lot of you guys kind of already know about microphones and stuff. And then the other websites, of course, I could tell you about our Casting Call Club, and I would say the VAA, but that place is dead. So yeah. So yeah, there's a ton of sites out there, a ton of, you know, info. I know D. Bradley Baker does he does like I want to be a voice actor.com or something, or something like that. I know he has a ton of good info out there. I mean, there's a lot of things really about voiceover that I could cover about, like, agents and how that works and how it matters where you live. I know actors who are doing voices and stuff for big YouTubers, and they're doing like things for indie games or whatever. I'm working on an indie game for the Nintendo Switch right now, which is called Flipping Death. If anybody's heard of it, it's done by Zoink Games, but they put out another game called Stick It to the Man and Zombie Vikings, which was on like PS4 and PC and stuff like that. So and I'm not even there. Those guys are, you know, not even in this country. You know, so I'm just doing it all from home, and I'm getting paid for it, which is, you know, crazy, because you get paid per line, and it's, you know, like, that's the thing. So if you end up like kind of getting a pretty good recording setup and you're able to submit in like quality stuff, then that can be something possible in your future. But I will say, don't go out and spend a ton of money for like recording equipment until you probably get something like that, because, you know, yeah. Are there any questions about like anything? And yeah.
Do you record from home more often, or from like a studio space? Like,
it's so funny because I actually record from home more often than recording in the studio. I don't need to go. Only for anime, because you have to match the picture. You know, sometimes you have to go in and of course, you know, match to the picture and do all of that. But now that I have like a good setup at home, I record all of my commercials. I record a few indie games from home. I mean, and it's so funny because the commercials are like my main source of income. So when you do commercials, like, you know, you'll start to see that people really pay out I sound so horrible because like I'm just like, hey guys, like go do commercials and like freaking make some money, man. Like, screw everything else, you know. But yeah, the commercials do pay more, which is like kind of a known thing in voiceover. So so I was very lucky enough to get with Pandora Radio, and they literally send me like a few commercials a week to do for huge things. I recently did another one for Raising Cane's. I don't know if you guys know Cane's.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think
love,
I've heard.
fried chicken. But yeah, you know, I mean, just things like that. I think usually you can just record from home. It's not really like not a big thing unless you're working on anime, which kind of sucks. Then you do have to live in, you know, California or Texas or New York. They do a little bit of anime in New York, but if you're like, I'm a voice actor, I want to work only in anime, like that's all I really care about, then you just go to Texas. I mean, you know, I've known a ton of people that just go to Texas. I went to Texas and I just got thrown in a bunch of stuff. Like I went to Texas to see family for a little bit, and like everyone there is so welcoming and nice. They're just like, oh hey, Zach's down here, and I'm like, hey, I don't know a lot of you. I only have a few friends over here in Texas. And then I got into like, I don't know, like a good amount of stuff for when I was there. I was like, wow, this is crazy, you know. So Texas is the place to be. I mean, they're always like putting out new anime, and they have the simuldubs going on. So, but if you want to work on other things though, if you want to be like, okay, I want to be an anime voice actor, I want to do commercials, I want to be in original animations like Disney things or whatever, like which recently like Robbie Damon was announced to be the voice of Spider-Man.
Yes.
The new Spider-Man. So and Max plays his best friend, Harry Osborn. So like that's pretty freaking cool, right? So if you want to be in that stuff, then you should probably go to California and try that stuff out. And video games too. California has a lot of video games. Any other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, earlier we were touching upon how do you otherwise measure the quality of your voice, whether it's criticize yourself or let's take criticism. Do you find that working in workshops outside of just strictly voice acting, such as improv or theater, help you sort of get outside of your head so you can either find something new or otherwise what you already have?
Yeah, I think definitely just doing any kind of like, you know, acting experience and really just like going out there doing theater. I took like a bunch of theater classes when I was younger. I also did on-camera acting, and like on-camera acting was super duper stressful, and you are like super critical of yourself. And you know, a ton of other people here have tried their hand at on-camera acting as well. So all these voice actors, like everybody's like, oh yeah, like they can't do on-camera. Well, they can, but like there's a reason why we choose voiceover, because it's just better. You know, I mean, because like seriously, when you do on camera, it's not fun to go to like a billion auditions and not get anything. And you can't help it. It doesn't matter. You could be the best actor ever, but if they're looking for a certain thing, they're gonna get that certain thing. And that's kind of it. You know, all the directors or all the producers have that vision of who they want to cast in their head. So I mean, sometimes that's just kind of how it is. But I would definitely say that helps too. And doing improv, which I want to go do more improv, because like, you know, they throw you in the booth sometimes. You're doing walla and incidentals, and you have no idea what you're doing, because they just give you a scene and be like, yeah, so here's a scene. You know, this kid, he just like lost the baseball game, and now everybody's making fun of him. You know, and then you're just like, okay, like you gotta like just make up things. Like you call him a loser, a dork, you know, be like, man, you suck at baseball, you know, and you just make up lines and insults and just random things like that. And sometimes like doing that stuff is kind of hard, because when you're in the booth, like it's like that, like you're getting paid on time, you know what I mean? So like you just have to think of it. They're like, okay, here's Japanese, do it, and that's it. And you know, so, and you know, the director's there to help you. So if you can't think of things, then usually the director might give you a few things to shout out while they're rolling, be like, oh, yell this. Oh, that sounds great. Yeah, do this. You know, so it's pretty fun. Anybody else? Any other questions? Yeah.
This might just be from a music perspective, but I've always found that when listening back to my own voice, I find it better to just talk or sing lower than I think I should.
Right.
Is that something that you've experienced from a male voice perspective?
Yeah. I think it has something to do with I believe there's some crazy science behind it that, like, you know, when we hear ourselves, we sound lower to ourselves, to our own ear, than our actual voices sound. So, and it has something to do with the way, like, you know, your voice resonates inside your head and then your ears, and then you hear it, you know, or whatever. I would say that, like, I totally have experienced that, and I'm like, okay, yeah, like, maybe I should do this a little lower, maybe this sounds a little too higher pitched.
Sounds a little too boyish.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it doesn't sound
exactly.
like
And I'm
a
like,
man's
yeah, I'm
voice.
like, this guy's a man, you know, so I
Right.
gotta really, like, beef it up. So I don't know, I think it really depends for the characters, but then sometimes there's those, you know, young characters where you're just like, huh, you know, maybe I shouldn't do anything different. Like, I think this is probably, like, as good as it's gonna get, and then just kind of stick with that. But I will say for sure, like, you definitely get those characters, like, where you're like, okay, like, I'm using my own voice, but I should probably make it a little lower, as long as it doesn't sound, like, too weird, you know what I'm saying? So, sometimes you want to, like, sometimes you do want to keep the voice natural, but other times you'll get told not to keep the voice natural. So it's like, it's really, like, weird to, like, kind of explain, you know? Like, I go in for, like, sometimes I'll go in for, like, I was recording a show, and I did my audition this completely different way. I used my own voice, and I thought it was, like, really good. I was like, yeah, you know? And then they're like, okay, like, we want you to do it like this, you know, do a really low voice for it. And I'm like,
Wow.
oh, I'm like, I have to do this for 4 hours. And they're like, so here's the question, Zach. We love what you did with the low voice, but can you do it for 4 hours? And of course, every acting teacher that I've ever known and has ever told me, like, I just hear them, like, saying in my head, like, don't say no, you idiot. Say yes. That's all you can say. You only say yes to everything and figure it out later. You know, and so I was like, yeah, I can do it. Yeah, it's super easy. You know, it's like no sweat at all. I'm like, die. And you know, and I'm just like, I can do it. But I figured it out. You know, I took some special Chinese syrup that helps your voice. I forget what it's called. It's like it's nim something. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but other voice actors, like, preach it to the heavens because it's like, it's really good. Like, it works. I was recording for Gundam, and I did, like, a 12-second scream, because it was really emotional. I did, like, a 12-second scream, and it was awesome. You know, I was like, wow, this might be the best thing I've ever done. And then you know, as I think about that, I was like, oh crap. And then the next line rolls. Okay, Zach, we're gonna go on to the next line. Oh yeah. Help. And then my voice, like, wouldn't come back. And so usually we save those screams for the end, but I guess we kind of thought that, you know, we could get it done, but I really just kind of screamed my guts out because I wanted it to sound like that for the scene. And I know, like, sometimes, you know, people are like, hold back on the screams, you don't, you know. I've been working on a very loud character in a show, and he's like the main character's best friend, so he's in pretty much almost every episode, and he's very, very loud, and, you know, and so my director's like, okay, Zach, you gotta hold back on the screams. Like, I know you love screaming, but you know, like, literally all of your lines are, like, shouting screams, you know what I'm saying? Like, so we can't, like, save them all for the end, because that's almost like the entire session. It's like, he's like, you know, it's like crazy. It's like sporadic or something, you know? I mean, there's always something going on with him, but yeah, I don't know, ranting about screams and stuff. Yeah.
So, like, but there's, like, a lot of projects and stuff where they require, like, a certain dialect or accent. So how do you, like, in between, like, projects, how do you work on, like, improving different accents and dialects for when the time comes when you audition for those roles?
Right. Usually I just freaking wing it. I'm just like, no. Yeah, you know, like, sometimes I know that, like, the whole Spanish accent, everybody's like, oh, Zach Aguilar, like, oh, you're Hispanic, like, you should know how to speak Spanish and, like, do the accent and everything, because, like, half of my family does, like, speak, like, my grandma spoke Spanish, my parents don't at all, because, like, my mom's totally white, and then my dad's like kind of like Hispanic, so I'm like, you know, I'm like a weird mix of a ton of different things, but basically, like, that's one of the hardest accents for me to do. So every time people ask me, I had someone really important actually asked me that, and I had to tell them, I'm sorry, I can't do it. Like, because I don't wanna lie to you, because like I was gonna have to do it right there on the spot, and like, ruin my reputation. If you're like really that horrible at doing something, then be honest. If you know that you're bad and you can't like wing it like the deep voice thing, but so I had to say no, I couldn't do it. And to be honest, I haven't really worked on a ton of different accents. Sometimes I'll kind of like imitate things that I hear. Like I'll hear like Reinhardt from Overwatch or something, and I'll be like, oh, that's a really cool thing you're doing. Darren DePaul's like so amazing. Like I'll just kind of like imitate stuff here and there and things that I hear. But for the most part, usually when I get the audition, I'll just go on YouTube and I'll look it up, and I'll look up people talking like that. If it's like an Irish thing, I'll go online, and I have to hear people just naturally talking in the accent for me to get it. They can't just be like saying specific words in the accent, like they just have to talk, So, there's a ton of info out there, but there are great accent teachers too. And then another thing is too, if you book like a really big thing, sometimes they'll actually bring on someone to teach you an accent. If it's like really that huge, if it's like Disney animation or something, and they're like, oh yeah, we love your voice, but like we want a little bit of this accent, we weren't really hearing it, so like that could also be a possibility. But I will definitely say if you are able to do accents, it opens up your range for things like huge. Hugely, it's very big market for all these different kinds of accents, and it's something I should definitely be trying to do. But I definitely should get some training. But there are people who do the training. So if anything, I just recommend like if there's like a few accents you definitely want to nail down and be like, I have this in my back pocket. You go to an agent or a studio and say that I can do these accents like great. Then I would definitely get coaching for it. I'm sure there's a ton of accent teachers out there who will teach you how to do an accent. So yeah.
Where's the line between like using your voice, like giving them your voice, but then also like differentiating between your characters so that like one guy doesn't sound like another guy?
Right, if you're doing like Walla and stuff.
Yeah.
Or like incidentals. That's a good question. For the most part, I think the director will tell you that. But if you're like at home and directing yourself, then you kind of have to play yourself back and listen to see if it sounds too much like it. So let's say like if you're doing like a really cool dude guy voice, then maybe you're like, oh yeah, I'm doing this thing, and then the next one, I mean, you might be playing like an older character. It really depends, like if the characters are different. But I guess let's say you have to do two teenagers. Maybe make one teenager's voice a little higher, make one's a little lower, and usually that'll work out just fine. I mean, sometimes there's like speech patterns and stuff that you can do. I mean, you can like emulate other things. Sometimes I'll give like some incidental, like a really freaking, like a weird, voice or whatever, and I'll just kind of throw it in there, whatever, and then just like, I'm like, oh yeah, sure, whatever, it's like, it's a really goofy, wacky show. I think it works fine, and the director will be like, yeah, that's good, doesn't sound like your character, so awesome. So yeah, you'll get things like that. Yeah?
How do you go about if, say for instance, I was a marching band, so there was
cool.
a lot of screaming and so forth, and I basically shattered my voice to where I sounded like a gargled gravel for 24 hours.
Yeah.
How do you go about repairing your vocal cords and getting back some clarity in your voice?
Yeah, I've had that a lot. I would say usually I stop talking completely. I just, even if somebody wants to talk a little bit, just let your vocal cords relax, because they're like, really inflamed, and I'll just drink a lot of tea. I'll drink tea all freaking day if I have to get my voice back. And also that syrup, which if you type in NIM syrup on like Amazon, I'm positive it'll come up. It's like this Chinese syrup that you can just take, and usually that really like coats the throat and makes not only your throat feel better, but like kind of brings your voice back a little bit too. I would say just stop talking, drink tea, and also what I like to do is kind of do a little bit of vocal fry sometimes to get my voice back. So like Lex, I know, I think he was doing like some crazy video game and his voice was going out. He did and he was like able to kind of like get his voice back by doing the, you know, groggy sound that you'll make like when you wake up in the morning. It kind of helps the vocal cord connection. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a specific warm-up regimen you have before you do recording sessions, or?
Sometimes like I'll move my tongue around in my mouth because like I'm horrible at, you know, messing up words and like and diction and slurring, and I know that you have to make sure that you're talking very like specific. Sometimes like in the act like in the anime or whatever, like you have to make sure your diction is on point. Otherwise, you go in there and be like, oh, sorry, I messed up. And I mean, that'll happen, like, you know, it's completely natural for, like, you know, you're only human, so, like, you can't expect yourself to be, like, perfect at pronouncing things. But usually, you know, if you mess up really bad, then the director will be like, hey, can we get that one again? For the most part, I usually do the lip rolls, which are like I like to do mine this way. And so that's like a, you know, typical like singing exercise that really helps, you know, warm up my voice. And also, if you know what character you're kind of doing, then you can usually warm up, you know, like the lower part of your voice more or the higher range. I'll do the lip rolls, and then I'll do tongue twisters, which is like red leather, yellow leather, black blood, blue blood. Red leather, yellow leather, blue blood, black blood. And I'll say that really fast. And then like my sister Sally sells seashells by the seashore. And then they'll have like Unique New York, which I hate that one. I'm not even going to try to do that one. And then there's like Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, a peck of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Where's the peck of pickled peppers? Peter Piper picked. And so like I'll go back and do those. But those are like really hard. Like some other voice actors are like masters of tongue twisters. But you know, like just doing those kind of like also helps me warm up. So that's kind of what I'll usually do. Just, you know, lip rolls, and I'll kind of like talk a little bit. Sometimes I might like sing to a Disney song or something, you know. I'll go the distance with Hercules and like, you know, and you know what I mean? Like I'll just be set. Like I just kind of work up my, I just kind of warm up my voice and stuff and get it flowing. Oh yeah, there's a question back there.
So starting out, when would you say you've reached a point where it's like, okay, things are going well, I think I can quit my job and pursue a career?
Right. Well, I'm 19. I never really had like a job, I guess. Like I worked at like a little shack, but I mean, I don't know, like I've never really had to like be in that position. So I'm sure like some of the like older voice actors will definitely be able to tell you like what they did and how they like actually were able to, you know, make sure they you know, make a living off of it, especially if you live in a place like Los Angeles where you pay like, you know, $800,000 for literally a shack to live in. You know, if you're buying a house and then all the rent is like, you know, $2,000 up for a studio. I mean, it's like crazy. So I mean, it really depends. Like I guess for me, you know, doing commercials is just really huge once I got that. But I guess that's the main thing with a lot of voiceover is that you never have security. So a lot of these voice actors, like, you're never actually like financially secure, which is what I hear from a lot of them. A lot of voice actors like will get a job on the side just to do what they love, and then there's other voice actors who have just completely like hit it big. You know, they're on like 3 original animations, they're doing commercials, like national commercials, they're getting paid the big bucks, they're getting residuals, they're getting like all of this extra stuff, and they're completely fine. Like they're full on, you know, voice actors. And then other voice actors, you know, only get like a few things here and there. They're not really doing commercials, and you know, like it's tough. Like they do have to get like a side job sometimes, and that's just how it works. You know, sometimes you gotta be like I don't know, I would say like Katy Perry, but like I don't want you guys to like live out of your car or anything like that. But you know, I'm just saying that's how passionate she was about it. You know, I mean, she was willing to do that and to, yeah. So I would recommend asking somebody else, like, you know, for more info about that. But I'm just letting you know like what I know. But yeah, are there any other questions? Oh, way back there.
suggest to go into like a basic demo reel? Because obviously,
Demos, right?
seasoned voice actor, you can put in like stuff you've done, but
Yeah.
just, you know, talking to yourself in a closet, should you do lots of different voices, or just pick a few voices and try to like do variations on that, or what would you suggest?
Every other voice actor is going to tell you to like go get your demo reel professionally made probably and have like a producer, you know, like produce it and write the lines and then have someone, you know, mix it, which is, you know, if you are confident enough in your like acting ability and like your, you know, like everything, and if you're really confident and you think like, hey, you know, I'm ready for the demo, then I would definitely say go out and do that. If you're not, then there's no problem with just, you know, recording a few different voices or voices that you think that you're good at, and kind of putting them together and doing it yourself and mixing it yourself. I mean, I kind of learned how to mix things myself just from watching YouTube tutorials. I was super duper passionate. I knew nothing about audio gear or recording programs or how any of that stuff even worked. Like, it was just like, I don't know, it was something I kind of definitely had to do research on, but, you know, I will say this, if you can find a really good mixer, mixing's really important in the demos. You know, making sure everything kind of blends together, making sure you have your sound effects in there, your thing. Because the most important thing is that when I listen to a demo, like I listen to people's demos that have been professionally produced, and I put on my headphones and I'm like, okay, let's hear this demo. And I hear people like screaming out things from Call of Duty, and and sure, they've never worked on Call of Duty because it's a demo. But the thing is, I guess my point is that I think it's from Call of Duty. Like that's the whole important thing, is the listener has to like be, what's the word? Like when you're just like really into something. Oh, what? Immersed, right. They have to be immersed in the demo. Like, oh wow, that sounds like that could be in Call of Duty or Halo. Whoa, that sounds like it's from Final Fantasy. That was really like cool voice acting, So I think that's kind of important. But if you want to do it yourself, I'd say you could try to write it yourself if you think you're a good writer and stuff. But the other thing is to go on VoiceBank, look up your favorite voice actors, listen to their demos, listen to kind of what they've done. I'm not saying to copy the writing, but you know what I mean. Like just kind of like get a reference of everything and then just kind of put one together. You can probably find like a sound effects library out there online somewhere. Someone gave me like some Sony sound effects library that has like a ton of like crazy sound effects and stuff. I mean, you could make one like that too. So I hope that kind of answers it. I know there's so many people. Like someone could probably sit here for an hour telling you every single thing that you should and should not do in a demo, which is just like, I mean, to be honest, I don't even know anymore because I've heard so many different demos. I was like, huh, he does something that so-and-so said that they shouldn't do, but they're super successful, so it doesn't matter, so it's just really controversial. Any other questions? No questions. Do you guys like playing Overwatch?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool, awesome. Yeah, I play a lot of Overwatch myself, and I'm pretty good. I main soldier. Soldier and Para, DPS.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You mentioned Overwatch. Has Matt Mercer, because I know he's done this before, does Matt Mercer like troll? Has he ever trolled you with like saying it's high noon as McCree, or he'll like say lines as McCree to like troll any other players, or on his?
Man,
has he done that to you?
I haven't gotten to play. I know Matt, but I haven't gotten to play Overwatch with him. But I mean, I saw the clips of him doing that, and I
Wait,
thought
they're
that was
online?
hilarious.
Where are they? I haven't been able to find them.
They're probably like, I think I saw them out on YouTube or Facebook.
Oh.
Yeah. So they should be out there.
There's a video of him saying it on YouTube, and the whole team literally starts panicking, going, "Why are you on McCurry?"
Yeah.
So since this convention weekend is hosting a lot of the actors from who voiced in the recent hit Persona 5, I was just wondering if you personally have played Persona 5, or if you're planning on doing that at some point.
I haven't. I haven't played through. I played through only a little bit of it. I need to beat it. Obviously, I've heard amazing things about it. What I recently did is I beat Final Fantasy 15 finally.
Finally.
And oh my Like, okay, I went out. I got a 4K TV for my family because our TV's like super duper old, like 13 years old or something, like crazy like that. And I was like, I'm gonna go out and get a really good 4K TV, and I'm sure it'll look good. And like my PS4 looks like awesome on the TV, especially like from a distance. Like it's a pretty big TV, so it looks great.
What size was it?
55 inch. Yeah. But I know they have like the 70 inch, but I'm not paying no like $4,000 for it or whatever. That's insane. Yeah. So yes, I played through that game and I thought that was like really amazing.
You'll definitely enjoy Persona 5 more. It's just so
Really?
much to do, and it will require like multiple playthroughs.
Yeah,
it's the first time I ever did like a second playthrough on an RPG.
Cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed Persona 4. Or well, I played 4 Golden on the Vita, so yeah, that was a lot of fun. So any last questions about voice acting? Maybe something I didn't cover, just anything. Yeah.
What made you get into voice acting?
Good question. You'd think that I would cover this, but I don't know. Sometimes I've told things to people a million times, so I never really remember exactly how important everything is. But when I was younger, I did on-camera acting. When I was really young, I was 6 years old. My mom would drive me up to Hollywood. She got me an agent. She did everything for me. She was on the clock. You should get into acting, because when I was younger, I was super duper outgoing, going around. I was pulling people's hair. I was kicking them in the butt. I was a horrible kid. I was a good kid, but then I had this hyper side too. So it was weird. And so she decided, she's like, yeah, you should get into acting. I got into acting a bit. I booked a few commercials when I was really young. I got some print work. If you guys even know what Cool Cuts is, I was a kid in the Cool Cuts haircut magazine.
Oh yeah.
I did a good amount of stuff when I was younger, and then my mom saw that I wasn't really enjoying the crazy drives up to Hollywood and Los Angeles traffic. So and I was missing out on school. I was missing a lot of days of school and with my friends, and I would get back and the things that I'd have to make up, and so I kind of got out of acting, on-camera acting, and later on when I was 12 or 13, I decided that I wanted to be an actor again. And so I kind of started doing acting things again, on-camera acting, and I realized that this stuff is so hard. I can't believe I actually booked things when I was younger, because it really is that difficult. You're competing with some of the best talent out there. And so, I thought to myself, I really love anime. I really love, Kingdom Hearts and a lot of video games and stuff. I loved Halo, and what I did was I was like, huh. And I remember I was watching Naruto or something one day, and I was like, I wonder who the voices are behind these people. I wonder who these kids are. And turns out they're not kids at all, And I was what the heck? I was like, this is so weird. And so it was just a crazy moment for me, and I was like, I think I want to be a voice actor. I think having my voice behind one of these characters and changing someone's life. I don't know. I have a really insane crazy story. I was in the hospital for a bit, and and anime and video games and stuff was my passion that really got me through some hard times. So I think that was really a flip point for me in my life, that hey, I want to be a voice actor, and I don't want to be a voice actor as in just saying I want to be a voice actor. I want to be a voice actor. I want to make it happen. So I would wake up late at night thinking about being a voice actor and how much it really meant to me.
So you kind of saw what it did for yourself, and you wanted to do that for other people.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's incredible to to have people who are hey, this you and watching this show really changed my life. I was going through a horrible time, and because everybody has bad times in their life. So I think it's just really kind of cool and special that yeah, it's I don't know, it's really cool. I get to do it, and if you guys are interested in voice acting, then I would definitely say, give it a try and see if it's for you. It all depends. I was super duper dedicated to taking classes. And when I was, younger, I had amazing parents who were very supportive of me because they knew like everything that I went through, and they're like, yeah, like my mom wanted me to be an actor anyways when I was younger. So she had no problem, taking me to classes or just doing anything, or even helping me pay for some of these classes when I was younger. I've since paid her back, so no worries there. So we're all good. So yeah, I don't know. It's just crazy. But anyways, I think I'm gonna wrap up this panel. If you guys ever have any other questions, thank you guys so much. If you guys think of anything or think there's something that I didn't really cover, just have any other questions to ask me personally or whatever, I'm doing signings, panels, like just come to me, I'd be happy to answer. Yeah, one last one.
When are you doing signing?
Oh no.
I got the schedule.
Yeah, it should be on the schedule, so.
He's winging it.